back that some people that are listening to the meetings are not hearing people very well. So when you're speaking, two things. One, make sure the microphone is facing you, because if it's facing this way, it doesn't pick up. It has to be facing you. That the light is green and that you don't have papers on top of it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Call to order, Parks and Recreation meeting for February 2024. Mr. Sharitz, can you do the roll call for us, please? Or Steve?
Mr. Pollock,
Here?
Mr. Lake,
Here.
Ms. Foy,
Here.
Mr. Catrombone.
Here.
I'll get it right. Thank you.
We'll have a moment of silence. And the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. So, member Desiree Tomasco has resigned and she was the secretary. So we're going to, appoint a temporary secretary, for tonight's meeting and, hopefully have an official vote, at next month's meeting.
Wade, you can appoint me to be the full-time secretary. I'm good.
I think we have to vote
But
on
we
it.
can vote on.
I
it
think you'll have to
next
vote
month.
on it at the next meeting. Because since it's not on the agenda, I'll put it on the agenda for the next meeting, but he's going to appoint you tonight. And then
Perfect.
So we're going to appoint, Caitlin Foy, as the secretary. Do we have to vote on that or? Okay. So we're good. Item 4.1, consider approving the agenda. All those are, do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
second,
Motion was made by, member, Foy and seconded by Patrick Bone. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion, moves forward. Public, item 5, public comment for agenda items only. Seeing no members of the public, nothing came in electronically. Item 6.1, consider approving the minutes from January 4th, 2024
So,
meeting.
and Mr. Pollock, if I can bring up, we noticed that there was an issue with the minutes, and so we're going to recommend that they be tabled and we'll represent them and republish them for the next
Okay.
meeting.
We will, do we need to vote on a table? Okay, we're going to table item 4.1. Or I'm sorry, yeah. 6.1.
6.1, sure.
6.1.
Reports, item 7.1, Public Works update.
Thank you. A very brief update because the month was a tough one from the standpoint of storms and collecting Christmas trees and things like that. So the month of January wasn't a lot of time spent in the parks. We did do a few things though, which I would just like to bring up to your attention. We did visit the parks, although not 3 times a week, but we did visit the parks regularly. There were a number of branches and down tree limbs and those kind of things after storms that were collected in the park, and we've been in the process of doing that. During January, the Brookside Park ball field backstop was completed. That was something we actually started a little bit at the end of last year, and that backstop replacement was finalized in January. So if you go to Brookside Park now, you'll see that there is a new backstop that's up behind the ball field. We're looking at some options at this point now that the winter has really caused a lot of the vegetation on the hill to die back. We're looking at the hill behind the backstop and on the sides and behind the bleachers. Is there anything we could do to the hill so that it's less overgrown with weeds and things like that. So we have some folks, the arborists and some other folks that do tree plantings and those kind of things that are looking at some options of what we could possibly plant or do on that hillside so that when it grows in the spring, again, maybe not for this year, but for the future, we could get started on trying to make that a nicer area. We did install the base for the grill at Gable Park, and we're really letting that set because of the weather. And then as soon as it is, we'll install the actual grill and we'll take the old grill out and then move the picnic bench over to that alcove that we had talked about doing. Other than that, we've been doing trail repairs and things like that from storm washouts and those kind of things. I know the trails don't fall under you, but they interact with the parks. And so I always try to let you know what's going on with them on maintenance. And that is my report for Public Works.
So we didn't hear back from the landscaper who was going to help us with the Brookside ball field. And so I don't know if you had a chance to take a look at your schedule. I know you've been busy with the snow and trees and.
Yeah, so, and I know that is an agenda item I think we're going to be talking about further down, but yeah, I do think we still want to have staff and Park and Rec and the landscaper go out and look at it.
Okay.
I met out there with some of the staff from Public Works that have been here for a bit, and they remember when the ball field had a different look. And so they were identifying a little bit of where things used to lie and how they could be restored. And I had forgotten this. We had lined out how the field could have been restored back a number of years ago because Newtown Edgemont Little League was interested in maybe partnering and doing something and helping us with it. The challenge was they brought the expertise and the volunteer power and all that, but they did want to have some extended use of the field, which would have had a tough effect on scheduling it for other groups. And so that's why that didn't go anywhere. But we were talking about that because we had laid out how the field could be restored at that time. So we have something to work with when we do meet the landscaper.
All right, so new business item 8.1, discussion and possible action regarding yoga in the park for 2024. So there, Yoga in the Circle has agreed to provide a free service. It's going to be from like June 12th to July 14th. Trying to get the exact dates. It'll be Wednesdays at 6 p.m., June 12th to July 17th. And that's free for the entire community. Anybody, any level wants to come out. Again, it's Yoga in the Circle is providing that service for us with the instructors. We've been doing at Drexel Lodge. I'm sorry, yes. And that's been going on for, I think, 4 years now. Yep. It's been very successful. My wife goes there. I've gone in and you know, sat in for Sheila, organizes most of it for us, Sheila Sullivan-Affini. And so when she's not available, I go and help set up and that kind of stuff. And it's well received. Yes, yes. A lot of people there, all different ages. It's amazing. And my wife really enjoys it. It's I know nothing about yoga, but she really enjoyed it.
It does help
Yeah,
the body.
yes. I noticed she was happier during those weeks she was doing that.
So you bought her lessons, did you?
I tried to, yeah, but she was.
I went to one. There's a great age span from teens to.
Yeah, I was surprised. Yeah.
Make it over there.
So I don't think we need to take. Do we need to take any action on that?
I mean, not unless there's some action that you,
Oh, so there is, we wanted to put signs up, and now I'm not sure how the township is going about signs these days. We want to,
They're just lawn signs.
yeah,
we normally do
They're
lawn
temporary.
signs too,
Yeah.
in the park itself.
yeah, that's fine.
And then, I think it's, and I'll talk about signs later on as well. So Pegasus and Broomall local place, they said that they would do them for $25 to $30, the lawn signs. So that's what the cost would be, and the township normally pays for that. We'd be all right with that.
Yeah,
Part
we
of your
have,
budget, so-
yeah, we have budgeted funds for that.
Item 8.2, discussion and possible action regarding a joint project between Parks and Recreation and the Environmental Advisory Council and Trails and Greenways Committee to enhance the Gable Park Playground and Trail entrance area. I believe, we have some pictures. So this area gets flooded, a lot, during rainstorms. It's always washed out. It's kind of an eyesore. And it's not a pleasant experience walking through that, trying to get back to the ball field, the trail, and the playground itself. So, I sent an email over to EAC, and, if I didn't send it to the Trails Committee, I'll send that tonight.
So Wade, I can report that because the Trails Committee had a meeting earlier, we had it on their agenda.
Okay.
And we presented it as a project that, one, there's a trail spur that leads to the Bishop Hollow Trail right at that point. It's the entranceway into Gable Park for the playground. And there's certainly the Environmental Advisory Council aspect to what could be there from stormwater and potential plantings and things like that. So a beautification of the area and the fact that it leads to so many facets, that it would be great to have a cooperation between Park and Rec that was kind of heading it up, and the EAC bringing their expertise and Trails bringing their expertise in with it. They were very much in favor of it. All that we asked of Trails this evening was if they were in favor of it, and then we learned that EAC was going to be in favor of it, that we would come up with what that was going to look like in the future, and we'd go back to them and let them know. But they were very interested in participating in the project. I think we're realistic that this is a beautification that we're probably going to want to go for a grant to do something really nice once the people involved come up with what the vision could be for it. So we would love to get it done this year, but realistically, we're probably looking at planning something that would be a 2025 implementation.
And we would apply for the grant this year then?
Absolutely,
Okay.
yes.
So I do have a book, that has all of the grants available in Pennsylvania. I can contact Sheila and sit down with her, and we can go over the grants that we might want to target. Preliminary, and then we'll present it at our meetings. Okay.
The key is, is this something that you would like to work on with EAC and Trails and have a joint effort like that?
And so should we take a vote on that? Okay. Do we have a motion, to support the possible, project between Parks and Recreation and the EAC, Trails and Greenways Committee to enhance Gable Park Playground and Trail entrance, area?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Motion was made by Member Foy and seconded by Member Catramone. All those in favor say aye.
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 The motion moves unanimously.
Great, thank you.
Item 8.3 is, county volunteer efforts. So, once in a while, we have, volunteers who are they're forced to do some kind of community service for a certain amount of hours. Yeah, so, yeah, and it comes in different reasons, yeah. So someone reached out, they have to do 70 hours. And so he was he wanted to hurry up and get his work underway. So I reached out to him. I talked with him on the phone 2 days ago, or yesterday, and we're looking at possibly picking up sticks, branches that have fallen at Drexel Lodge Park in the bocce court area. There's small tree limbs, nothing major, that you could just pick up, one person could pick up. And the soccer field has a lot on there as well. So it'd be a perfect time before we start using the bocce court and soccer field. If anyone else has any ideas as to what we could do, he has 70 hours he has to do. I can meet him and set him up. Might stop and get a rake from Public Works. We'll put him in a spot where Public Works can pick the sticks up. But if anyone has any ideas as to something else.
Can we give them now? Give ideas now?
Yes.
I haven't been over to Drexel Lodge to hike the trails, but when I've been there in the past, just lots of down branches in there.
I was thinking that too, Pete, if you could walk through the trail at Drexel Lodge Park, does that interfere with Trails and Greenways Committee? Do we need? No, okay. I think. that's a great
Not if
idea.
he's doing cleanup. I mean,
Great.
that's not a problem.
Great, I think that's a great idea to add that since it's in the same location.
Have you seen it, Joe? The trails, there's trails behind.
I know, yeah, just,
That's-
yeah, I haven't gone through the trails yet, but not sure.
It's kind of rustic, and I think it was an Eagle Scout project that originally
Okay.
set that up, and what they did was they put tree limbs along the trail to identify, mark where the
cool.
trail would be, yeah. So in addition to cleaning up, I think George had mentioned, I talked with him last, possibly moving some of those, if there's larger branches, moving those along the trail, because some of them have washed out since the Eagle project took place. So I will let Trails know that we're gonna work on that, just out of courtesy.
Another place might be Greer Park. I remember, Steve, you and I went on that day and just pulled all the tree limbs. And one tree, I think there were a couple trees that had to come down. I think you took them down, George. By the pond. That's an area.
70 hours leads for a fair amount of work to be done.
Yes.
Is there any work over at Meadow Preserve? I haven't been there for years. I mean, it's so open over there, but
It's open. There's not a problem with branches and things like that there. That probably wouldn't be the perfect spot, but I think any of the parks would fall into the same kind of work that Mr. Pollock was talking about.
like Newbie
Yeah, I was
Park.
thinking newbie. I haven't been over
Yeah.
there lately, but I'm sure there's some branches
Oh,
down
yeah.
from the storms.
Yes. Right. To be. And if you haven't been have you been to Meadow Preserve, Joe? It's between Episcopal and Listener, I guess it is. If you go into Listener, into the back of it, all the way, yes, it's north.
Yeah,
Um,
north corner.
there's a trail there that goes back, and it's
No idea.
like 23 acres. Is that what we have?
60,
Almost
50.
50
50,
acres.
50
Check
acres.
that out.
Meadow Preserve.
It's where Episcopal runs their cross country.
Okay.
It's a really cool place. You can
Oh,
get
it is.
lost there.
No idea who's back there.
Yeah.
Just watch the ticks, wear long pants.
So Dane from, the Environmental Advisory Council did a, video, a drone video of it. So if you look it up on YouTube, Meadow Preserve, you'll see there's a drone footage of the area. It's pretty cool film. So do we need to take a vote on volunteer doing work or?
Um, probably wouldn't hurt just to go ahead and do it. One of the things I would recommend though, just knowing how the court system works with these, is that all of it, I know that you're going to kind of give the direction, Wade, but probably the day-to-day might run through George just for sign off. So that
Okay,
because
okay.
they're probably wanting the township to sign off that they've completed the hours. So,
All right. I'll arrange for that. I'll set him up in the morning. I'll bring him over and introduce him and I'll pick up any equipment that we might need.
Yeah, we can work together on it for sure.
Wade, is that something you're gonna have to supervise for all those hours?
I would just go back and forth.
you don't have to supervise the entire time, but you know, you're gonna, look, between Wade and George, they'll know expectation of what should be done in a certain period of time. They'll look at it, you know, this should take 2 hours, 3 hours, and as long as it's pretty close. And if the guy says it takes 3.5, it takes 3.5, you know, I mean, that's, you know, but George has done this more than once. And so, he's got a pretty good idea of what people should get done in a time frame.
So do we have a motion to, have a county volunteer provide, efforts for park cleanups in general?
I'll make that motion.
A second?
Second.
The motion was made by member Lake and seconded by member Cantrom Bone. And, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion moves unanimously. Old business, item 9.1, discussion and possible action regarding Gable Park Playground and Trail Sign. So, we had kicked this around for months, and so I just kind of, put something together if we just want to review it, if anybody wants to make any updates to it. I think we were going to do 2 signs, one at, we had just shown the picture of the project that we were going to do. There's a Gable Park sign at that entrance. This would go next to that. And it just says, because the playground and the trail are behind the municipal or the Public Works building and the baseball field. I know we had discussed different things we were going to do. If anyone has any.
Yeah, I love it, but it's one that does already.
Yeah, this is just kind of basic. It just doesn't. Kind of spells it out. So I think we were going to put 1 there, and if we had 2, where do you guys think we should put the second one at? I think we had discussed the library,
Yeah, we said right up
at
front
the
of
library entrance, yeah.
Right.
And
Probably a lot of kids and parents will catch it there.
there are a lot of kids that come in there,
Yeah.
and there's people that would probably use the trail, use the library as well. And these are these will be temporary. I don't know how, I think 6 months is. And then, I guess during the project, of the beautification, we would add the newer sign or,
Yeah, I think that's when you would want to design how that would be incorporated into it.
and I did reach out to Pegasus, printing, and again said it would be $25 to $30 for each sign, so I think in total between the yoga and these signs, it would be $100 to $120 that would come out of our budget. And I'll go ahead and, I guess we should vote on that. Do we have a, motion to go ahead and, use these signs?
So moved.
Thank you. Motion was made by member Catherine Bone and seconded by member Foy. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion moves unanimously. All right, item 9.2, discussion and possible action pertaining to concert in the park. So, I haven't solicited any funds yet. I was going to reach out to, Tired Hands Brewery. They're over in Ardmore, but they do have the beer park.
Good
I
idea.
thought that they would be a good, sponsor. And I had to tell them that we're not allowed to have beer there, but they could invite everyone after the concert down to their beer garden. And I have a couple other places I was going to contact. So if anyone has any ideas on businesses that might be interested in the concert, I guess we could discuss them here, or you could just reach out to me in an email, or
And I have that for May 18th.
that's a Saturday?
Yep.
Yes,
That's 4 to 6.
4 to 6. And so item 9, we'll move to item 9.3, discussion and possible action regarding the Train Museum and Family Fun Festival. So I think we had talked about having a different kind of train there, but looking at the price of that train, I think it would just cost too much money. We tried to do it on the cheap as we could last year, and it was very reasonable, reasonably priced. Most expensive thing was the concert. There was a kids band there, and they were pretty pricey, and it ends up being during nap time for the children that would really enjoy it. So I think we'll bag the band this year if everyone's okay with that. And
Mhm.
there are other musicians that will come in with a guitar. We get them to sing train songs and possibly just have them at the train museum itself. Because everyone seemed to be concentrated at the train museum, not other places. Or we could put them in under the pavilion. But
The petting zoo was such a hit. I wonder if we could spread that out more because I don't know, if they had an extra staff or something, if they could just,
they do have a bigger option. So they'll bring more animals in and more people to support it. They were very reasonably priced. They were amazingly reasonable.
that, I mean, that was, they were busy all day.
Yes.
That they were there.
So I'm wondering what area, that area worked out well.
By the food, by the trains.
Yeah. And I think there's probably more space there even if we needed it.
I think we could just spread out in the same spot it was last year.
They had like snakes. I think they had a goat. What else they had?
They had guinea pigs, rabbits. That was the petting
Yeah.
that the kids could go into, and then they had like buckets of snakes.
Oh, yeah.
The kids loved it.
Yes.
Some adults too.
When is the date for that?
We haven't
It's the
decided on a date yet. I guess we'll probably try and zero in next month on a date. We would have to coordinate with the Railroad Museum. So what we did, Joe, was we generated funds to pay for everything, and whatever was left over, we donated to the Railroad Museum. And then the Railroad Museum, which is a private entity, and they stayed on their property where they sold food, and it wasn't for profit, it was benefit to railroad. I do that.
George, you think targeting fall or before school lets out?
It could make sense to do it in the fall, or, you know, I guess the key things that happen up there, you know, we'll have this great concert in May. Newtown Square Historic Day is the first Saturday in June. The Railroad Museum's open for that. It's one of the sites, and all the other historic sites in town are open as well. During the summer, they're open every Saturday. You know, there's not necessarily events going on or anything. They're just open on Saturday, as there's some of the other historic sites. And then they wrap up in September, and then October is their last day. So at one time, there did used to be a bigger festival the first Saturday in October. They used to have one, but they didn't really have the ability to keep doing a big festival themselves anymore, and that just kind of it just kind of dwindled.
Do you guys think October or?
I like October, but it's pretty wild around here in October. Every school has a harvest pumpkin
Right.
festival. I mean, just between Culberton and Garrett's Way, there's 2 weekends right there. And then they usually do the rain date. They usually select a Saturday in October, and then Sunday is the rain date. Kind of knocks out 2 weekends in October.
So I wonder, I'm thinking back to the discussion you were having earlier about how popular the petting zoo was, and bolstering the petting zoo and having a bigger group. So you're probably going to want to lean toward a date that's going to work for the petting zoo to be outside and the animals to be comfortable and people to be out for that. Maybe you might want to consider reaching out to them and seeing some ideal times and kind of attacking it from that angle. Because it would be great to do something in October, but you're exactly right. There's a lot of school activity going on then. And then as I thought about it, I said, you know what, I bet the animals don't want to be outside in October.
If it's
Right.
cold.
Yeah.
Perhaps something in May or
Well,
Memorial Day?
the 11th and 12th is Mother's Day. I don't know if that does anything. The 18th is Feedback playing the concert. The next weekend is Memorial Day weekend. And then you're into June. The first Saturday is Newtown Square Historic Day. Unless June 8th, if that's not too hectic. The weather might be nice in June before it gets too hot.
When was it last year?
Is May, I think, or?
It was in May last year.
May.
It was supposed to be October 1st, but then it got, oh wait, or was it May and it got moved to October 1st?
I think it was October 1st the year before, and then it got moved
It got
back
rained
to
out.
May.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If the concert's already in May.
Yeah.
It was May
do June.
6th last year.
Uh,
It was supposed to be October 1st. It got rained out and we pushed it to May 6th and it was beautiful.
so I guess June or September then. Do you think June would be better or before?
People start going on.
Most
June.
schools are still in session.
Yeah.
Okay.
The seniors graduate a couple weeks early.
They're not going to be attending. Jeez.
That's right. They're down at the beach. That's right.
I think the average, the kids were anywhere from like 2 to 12 or something.
Or
like
15.
that.
But it might be a nice break, before vacations start to What does the township, or what does the Historical Society have in June or? anything?
It's usually June, the first Saturday.
The
in
first
June.
Saturday. Yeah.
June 1st,
Thinking June 8th.
would be the following Saturday.
And I will reach out to the petting zoo because they're instrumental, I think, and see if the June 8th date would work for them, and then I guess we could vote on it, next month.
Great.
If that's okay. Item 9.4, discussion of possible action regarding previously discussed Brookside Park ball field improvements. So George already explained that the backstop was replaced. So did the township, ever, the supervisors ever look at the project of, the major project of upgrading the fields there, or that's something?
Part of the capital discussion.
Yeah, so we're going to be presenting, the board has a list of, I'm gonna say 35, 40 capital projects. And that's one of that list. So we're gonna kind of come, we can't do all those in 1 year. It's just not possible. We don't have enough resources. Even if we go out and have them all hired out to do, it's just even putting all of the bid documents together would be more than what we could do. So we're gonna put together a list of what staff would recommend is the top 10 kind of thing, with the idea that our goal would probably be to get 6 of the top 10 done, just because there's so many. And then we'll just keep working that until we get them done over the next couple of years.
What month is that discussed? Or is it not set
It,
yet?
it would be, so we're gonna discuss it as staff over the next week or so. Hope to present it either the 12th or the 26th of February, have the board do an approval saying, yes, this is what we want to focus on and how we want to focus on it. And then we would start a targeted action of how to get, at least 6 of the ones done, hopefully 10, but that would be the direction.
Great.
Because, I mean, there's a lot of things that we need to look at. We got the roof on this building as an example, that there's some issues. And so we just have to kind of come up with the priorities of like what makes the most sense and where we need to put our energies. Plus, we have some ARPA dollars that need to be spent this year. So we want to do that. I think fixing up Brookside Park's a huge issue, and even addressing, we've talked about over here at Gable Field, the turf. They're huge issues, and we just have to talk about what makes the most sense there, and the dollars that need to be put out, because this one across the back of the parking lot's very expensive. I think what we're looking about about $500,000 for that project alone. So we have dollars set aside for a lot of these, but it's still it's a lot of money, and so as we start spending down, we want to make sure we're being wise in how we do that.
That's good.
But yes, that's one of the projects that at least one board member was very interested in.
And even if that particular capital project, which was really a little more soup to nuts, if that project doesn't wind up being in the top tier, that will not stop us from looking at working with a landscaper and volunteers and staff and improving the field out there.
So should we still pursue the landscaper?
I believe that we should still pursue working with landscaper and staff and volunteers and see how that develops, while simultaneously we could look at the capital project that's on the list in the budget.
And Wade, you said you never met with George or anyone?
No.
Okay, because that was an email, but like,
Yes.
I think it just sort of stopped.
Yes, so,
We can pick that back up again.
okay.
We had the storm shortly after that, so,
Yeah,
I mean, wouldn't
Yeah,
have been. a
Yeah,
great-
the fields were
visibility.
covered, and there were actually a couple additional days that I went out to look at the field and it was all fog. And you couldn't see anyway.
Did have some really foggy days, yeah.
Yeah. I did not realize initially that they had finished the backstop job because I couldn't
It was
see
so
it.
foggy.
Yeah, it was so foggy, I couldn't see it.
But I will send an email back out to those on the email distribution about visiting that. All right, item 9.5, discussion and possible action regarding previously discussed Brookside Park batting cage repair or removal.
So there, at the Brookside Park ball field, we've got the backstop, and that was a piece of township property that goes with the park. At some point, one of the teams that used to use the field installed a batting cage. And it's really made with chain link fence. It's not a batting cage like you would find up at the Little League fields or anything like that. It's a chain link fence cage. It is falling apart, and we had reached out to Rich Enal at Marple Newtown Recreation to ask, can he talk to the teams that permit the field to find out who owns it, who put it in, because nobody on staff can even recall who were the ones that put it in. It's been there for a long time. I'm not sure if any of the folks here might remember when it went in, but I know it's been here for a while.
At least 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to play on that,
Okay,
a church
okay.
softball team there.
So nobody took ownership of it. When he reached out to everybody that permits the field, nobody took ownership of owning it. So I don't think we're asking for a decision at this meeting, but we wanted to bring up to you. Can you go take a look at it yourselves? We've looked at it and analyzed it. Do we wish to work on restoring it in some fashion, or do we want to consider removing it completely and having the space available for something else, or just keeping it open? And there are benefits to both. I mean, we could put some money into trying to make it a little more serviceable, although it's not going to be exactly like up top. It's just not designed that way. We could do something with it and keep it in operation, or we could take it down completely. Whatever this board would recommend, we would bring to the Board of Supervisors as the Park and Rec recommendation to decide what are we going to do with it there.
Do we know if anyone uses
Yeah.
the cage?
That's what I was gonna say.
It's not presently utilized, but that's because it's falling apart. I mean, the top, which is all cage, is kind of sinking down. Now, we could do repairs on that. The ideal situation, we would probably, if we were going to keep it, we would take major parts of it out and replace it with like a netting or something like that. But the reality is, it's not going to look as nice as something like up top would have looked.
Well, you need a pitching machine, right? To feed the balls in?
I've seen, I actually think at one point there was a screen in there that somebody could throw, but they're behind a screen when they throw. And then the ball would be hit, but it would stay. I mean, it kind of ricochets inside the cage right now, which is not what you would want. So it would have to be modified.
You want soft sides.
Yeah. So, so again, we're going to be looking for a recommendation from you as to looking at it and envisioning, is it something that we want to put resources into and try to update, or is it something that we want to really clear out? Most of the time that field is used just for pickup games. It's used for softball. It's not the kind of field that really would warrant having a batting cage there at it. But it's also a big enough decision that we'd want your council to be able to send to the Board of Supervisors.
Yes, I don't recall, a lot of people using it. I'm down there a lot. I live in that neighborhood. I'm traveling through. I don't see a lot of
Never,
people using it.
I've never seen anybody in there.
I've used it with my son, but that was 20 years ago.
Mhm.
I'll reach out to Nell and Richie now, see if they're aware of any use of it. Well, just to get some input from someone.
Yeah, so Rich Enal is the one who researched with all the teams that permit the field, and nobody admitted to owning it. And when you look inside it, it hasn't been used in a while.
Did he give any 2 cents as to if he thought it was worth refurbishing or taking down? Or was that question not asked to him?
I did not ask
I'd
him.
be curious what his.
Yeah, I did not ask that question of him, and I think that's a fair question to ask. I mean, either Wade can ask that question if he wants to talk to him, or I can certainly follow up if you wish.
I guess, we'll have to drive down and take a look at it.
Yeah.
Item 9.6, discussion and possible action for the installation of a water bottle filling station and water fountain at Gable Park. I think we've already voted on this to add it to the budget. It was a budget request from us last year. You know where the ball field is, and then there's some bathrooms there. In between the bathrooms is where I think it would go.
That'd be a great addition.
There is currently
Maybe
no
it is.
water,
Okay.
there's no water fountain there. and
Did we get a response to that?
So it's something that was in the capital budget. Again, we talked about the process of what's going to happen with the capital budget, but because this particular one is something that I think it's a smaller capital project, and it's one that I think we would like to get rolling on so that it would be available when the the spring hits. If Park and Rec would like to have it forwarded to the Board of Supervisors to vote on at the next meeting, you could vote to do that at this meeting, and then we'll take that on and add it to their agenda.
So they're gonna vote on this anyway in the February meeting, but we could ask them to sort of.
Support it.
Yeah, I think if
Expedite
you're,
their
if it's
decision.
coming from you, that is probably will be what drives us making sure it's on the agenda. So, I mean, if you were to say, no, you don't want it right now, for some reason, I can't imagine you're gonna do that after saying you wanted to have the money set aside, but if you were to say, no, we would hold off, on that. I think George and I think it's a positive with you. We think that's a really good ad for the community to have one at that location. And the nice thing about it is because it's right here, when wintertime comes, we can control it. And part of that area is heated. If we can keep it so that it stays warm and can stay year round, that's fine. If not, we can turn it off. And George's team can do that without having to go out to a park and shut water off to a whole thing area.
Should we vote?
Yeah, I'm thinking if you vote, if you want to forward this to the board.
So do we have a motion to recommend to the Board of Supervisors for the installation of a water bottle filling station and water fountain at Gable Park area?
A motion. Yeah.
A second?
Second.
A motion was made by Member Lake and seconded by Member Catrambone. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion moves unanimously. Discussion, item 9.7, discussion and possible action for the children's summer series. So there's no real update. I did reach out to the police chief or a policeman, our point of contact with the police department to have them support. I haven't heard back yet. I'll start reaching out to all the other organizations to get support for those. Has any other ideas or what we could do at those events? Just something to think about, I guess, over the next few months. Normally they do like a reading, they'll read a book or an arts and craft type of thing. So, and think of anything that might be relevant for those events. I guess we can discuss it again next month. That's something. Item 9.8, update on Greer Park. So I think the township has had some movement recently on Greer Park with some engineering work or possible engineering work going on?
Yeah, so we've been working with the engineer. As you know, when we first had the project done, we had a consultant in who went through the process. They went out and gave us did the work and got a grant, and actually got 2 grants for that. And then we've set the engineer. My idea was we had some MS4 requirements that we had to meet. And so my thoughts were that we were going to go right through Greer Park to do that. So why not put the 2 together and move forward? And so that was the idea. In the process, we changed from our township engineer, we changed township engineers. And so we had a kind of a start and a stop, kind of like a false start and stop with our last engineer. And then the new engineer has started the process. So the new engineer submitted to us within the last month, kind of a plan of what to do. It came back for the first phase to be a little bit higher than what we had anticipated. When I say a little bit higher, it's like about $1.4 million to do the first phase. And most of that has to do with the stream bank movement and restoration. So what I've asked the engineer to do, George and I met with them yesterday or the day before, I don't remember now. I've asked him to put together a project that's closer to the $700,000 range, because that's about what we had kind of budgeted for where we were headed with this. And with that idea that we would address part of the issues, but not necessarily do a full stream bank restoration at this time. He thinks we could probably do that in that price point. And so we're actually working right now to get the 2 grants extended to allow us to go out to bid, do that project. And it would include putting in the boardwalk, creating where the pond area is, kind of creating that area a little differently, making it a little bit smaller, having the stream for now run through it until we can get to the spot where we would move the stream out. Because ultimately the stream's supposed to be on the outside.
Yes.
There's actually a hydraulic issue with it when it came to actual design. On piece of paper, it looked great. It was really easy on a piece of paper, but when it came to keeping the pond fed, what was left there, that wetland area, keeping it fed and still having the stream be separate, there was some real issues because of the drop. There's actually an 8-foot drop in that location from where it enters the park and to where it comes out. So he was looking at ways to, and the idea is to remove the dam. So, we don't want to turn around and create where we have another dam. And so he's looking at ways to do that. And he's come up with some, but it's more expensive because of that. And so we're looking for a plan to go forward now so that we can make the park usable and then come back and do the stream restoration at a later date.
Will there still be like a larger wetland area where the
Should-
pond will no
Yes,
longer
there'll still be a wetland area in that. That'll
but
still
maybe
be
smaller than,
probably a little bit smaller.
okay.
And in that, the stream will probably today run through it if the board says to go move forward that way. The board may opt to try to fund the project at the 1.4 million. We just didn't budget for that for next year, so I'm not 100% sure where we would go with that if we did. So,
Do you think the boardwalk will still sort of go back towards like the turtle bogs?
that boardwalk has kind of been put on probably a more permanent hold. There's some real issues because you have to go into the wetlands to put that in, and they don't like us disturbing the wetlands. And so we may not be able to ever be given the go-ahead to put that in because it's not like it goes along the edge of the wetlands. It actually had to go right through the
Through it.
wetlands.
Okay.
And so the engineer, the current engineer thought that that might be a little bit more challenging to even get that done. So his recommendation was, for now, let's hold off on that. Let's do all the rest of the parts to the park. And that would be like, probably like phase 5 kind of a thing. What I'd like to see us be able to do is we have some money set aside for some playground equipment at that park. It's, you know, the playground equipment that's there is either like really old or non-existent anymore because we've had to take it out. And so we would like to look at this project and then also look at doing at least one section of the playground that would be accessible and be just a nice add to the community. And we at least have 75,000 plus we've set aside another 25 the last 2 years. So you got another 50,000. So you got about 125,000. Part of that 50 was going to actually go for some playground replacement, but this may be one of those things that we would say we're actually are replacing, because if you remember, there was a piece of equipment there that we had to take out because of safety concerns. So it would give us, probably not enough to do a full-blown, I mean, that stuff's just incredibly expensive.
Yeah.
You know, I'd like to say it's cheap and we could throw up 10 playgrounds tomorrow, but it'd probably do what we're looking at doing because we want to make it an accessible playground. We're probably, end of the day, with where costs are today, we're probably looking anywhere from $250,000 to $500,000 just for that. And you know, because we looked at one accessibility, what was it called?
The spinner.
It's the spinner.
Yeah,
And, you know,
it's expensive.
it's not just the equipment, right? The equipment's
Setup.
expensive, but then by the time you add the fall zones and all of those other things, and then you have to add the access and all of those kind of things. So my thoughts are, let's come up with a plan, let's get a piece in, let's people start enjoying it, and then as people enjoy it, we show the demand, and then we go back and ask for the additional dollars.
So Stephen, are you thinking to keep the pirate ship playground set that's there now? And then at the other lot adjacent to it where the other playground set was removed to utilize
Actually-
that space for a new, or are you
actually-
thinking about removing?
Actually, if you look at where the plan was, there was actually playground equipment further or closer to where the parking lot was or is. So it probably would impact what's there now. I would potentially move that a little bit to do what we want to do. But I think what we think is going to be permanent ought to be put where we think it ought to go, based on the master plan. And so where the master plan calls for it, as I kind of saw the master plan, is a little bit to the west of where the playground equipment is today. But it still may require us moving what's there today. And then we would do that. Because that piece still can be used at this point. The other couple of things probably don't meet anything that's today's standards. And so we'll have to make a decision of whether we want to keep the antiques or not. But so far they've stayed pretty safe. And so nobody's told us that safety wise they have to come out. They're just, they're not very current with what the things are today. So.
I'm there a lot. I
Yeah.
haven't seen any potential
Yeah,
dangers with the.
No,
step.
that, like I said, it's not come back as a safety issue so much as those would be, if we moved them, would we really put them, if we had to move them or take them out, would we really put them back? Because
Right.
they're not, you know, not necessarily what most people want in a playground setting today. And so if we could get the other in, it may be that those just come out. But that's kind of what I think we're going to work on presenting to the board for Monday night.
And would any of the grant money then be used for the playground equipment, or is that?
I don't
Yes.
think we had
We'll have to-
permission to use the grant for playground equipment. The grant was for,
Stream restoration?
there was some for like stream restoration, and I think we could do that with what we're gonna do. Based on what the engineer told me. That was like, I think, 270,000, and then, we had 200,000 for the boardwalk. And so that's how we would do that. We would use the 200,000 for the boardwalk along the wetland area slash, you know, gonna say pond, but I don't know that it's gonna really be a pond, but, that wetland area, put the boardwalk in, get a nice walkway coming along with that, so that's easy accessibility, and then, the stream.
Right.
And we have some dollars, that we set aside for the purpose of the dam removal. And so we have some monies that will help with that.
Okay. And when, if a new playground did go in and you got voted on, when would that occur? That would
It
be,
would be all a part of that. We would bid it out as all part of one project.
oh, okay. That would be 2025 or?
I think what we would do is because, again, because we're dealing with water, you can't just go do it. You got to have all of these permits, and that they take 6 months to a year to get. So we will do, if the board gives us the go ahead, we'll do all of our design, get all of that done. We would hope to have permits and everything ready to go by January of 2025 with a construction process to go. We go out to bid, do all of that. Once we go out to bid, I think he planned 4 months, 5 months for construction, and then we would be done at that point.
Okay.
That's a rough idea. We're asking for extension of the grant to the end of 2025.
Okay. Does anyone have anything to add or want added to the agenda next month? Or we're dismissed?